Baruch, then Amaziah, then Yehudah.
Amen.
Amen. Ki Shem Adonai Ekra Havu Gadol Eloheinu Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Agi Tehilateka. Because the name of the Lord I will call. Ascribe ye greatness unto our God. O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall declare thy praise. Giving all praise, honor, and glory to he who lives forever, the magnificent one. Thanking him for allowing us this opportunity to be alive this day. And better than that, to know that he is God. Thanking him for all of his goodness and for your lives. We greet you, Shabbat Shalom Aleichem. Please be seated. Giving honor to our Chief Rabbi, even Chief Rabbi Kepa Shmuel Funeh.
Amen.
To the master of this house, even Adon Rabbi Yeshurum ben Levi. The elders and friends, I greet you, Shabbat Shalom Aleichem. We are in the final discourses of the life of the great man. And I don't know, we've been reading this book over and over again, and every year you know the outcome. But it never ceases to be a sad occasion. Because as you read the scripture, and I don't know, it's like for the whole year, Moshe's with us. It comes out to this time, and then you begin to read these things, and when he's about to die, it's a sad time. We are in a very peculiar season. Not only because it's the season that we come to God to ask for his ear, his forgiveness, and his pardon. But we, in these days and times, have come to a peculiar season because so often we read in the words of God, and at times they seem abstract. They seem far off. They seem to be in a situation where we can talk about them at our leisure. But today, times are becoming rapidly different. If you're paying attention to the time and the season, and you look at the Word of God, you're beginning to see the culmination of the correlation. You're beginning to see how the Word of God is not some esoteric conversation, but that the Word of God, like our fathers have been telling us, is alive. And that we here who get the opportunity to hear it should no longer look at it as something that we put up on the shelf, something that we simply venerate because, we say it's the Word of God, but we need to look at it for the instruction and the safety that it would provide. This portion is found in the book of Deuteronomy, the 31st chapter. We only got one chapter to go. The 31st chapter in the first verse. This is Shabbat. Okay, it is Shabbat Shuvah, but the portion that we're going to study today is Shabbat Wayelech. And that means what? It was actually, and he went. That's that wild hahipuk. Right? That's that wild consecutive. And he went. Because if you know the word Yelech is future tense, but that wav in front of it makes it a past tense word. So, and he went. This man Moshe, let's talk about him for a few minutes. This man Moshe ben Amram, who served at the behest of the God of heaven and earth. I want you to remember how he came into service. Moshe came into service kicking and screaming. Not, well, Lord, send by the hand of whom thou wilt send. The line that they left out was, just don't send me. Right? Moshe was fine with whoever you want to pick, God. It's good, because you God. You pick them. But I'm not him. I'm good where I'm at. Me, my wife, and my goats, I'm good. I don't need no more excitement in my life. I grew up in the house of Pharaoh. I watched wars. I commanded people. I learned all of these things. I'm good. I'm thankful. I'm thankful that you heard us now. I'm so very thankful. You know, Moshe, you got to listen to that discourse. He was thankful, like you when God said, and I heard the cry of the children of Yisrael, and I am now come. Moshe was real happy, but he didn't want to go. Made up all kinds of excuses. He said, Lord, I can't talk. You know that, I can't talk. To the point where he made so many excuses that it said the anger of the Lord was kindled against him. He said, listen, this is the bottom line. You're going. I'm sending your brother because you can't talk, right? I'm going to send your brother. He's going to come meet you. But you're going to go in unto Pharaoh because I prepared you. I knit you together in your mother's womb. I floated you down the Nile. I protected you from all of that. I raised you up in the finest schools in the earth. I prepared you to be my messenger. Now go. So Moshe ben Amram went. And at every turn, everything that he was doing was being met with resistance. Resistance from Pharaoh. And worse than resistance from Pharaoh, resistance from us. Now, don't cross yourself out. So Moshe ben Amram went. I don't have time to recount the story, but he went. And you know the deal. He went in there. He spoke the word of God. And it got to a point where finally he got it. He started speaking and he started doing and the hail came and this happened and this happened and that happened. And then God killed all the firstborn. And he said, rise up, O Israel, let's go. And we went. And we got to the water. And people, we thought that was some kind of accident. God had hemmed us in where there was no place to go. But there was a message in that. I make the way. Not only was it a message for us, it was even a message for Moshe ben Amram. Because Moshe hadn't figured it out yet. Moshe is like, and here we are by the sea, and they come in, and this is happening. And what Moshe didn't understand, and what, although we can intellectualize it and say it out our mouth, but the reality to understand it is different than knowing it in your mind. Moshe had not yet come to the realization that his mind could not imagine anything that God couldn't do.
Amen.
See, I don't know if you hear me.
I hear you, Rabbi. I hear you.
Moshe was out by that water and he thought that we were surely trapped, and to the point where he fell down on his knees and he cried out, and God said, "Why are you crying out to me?
Amen.
I done told you. Do it." You mean? Do it.
Do it.
And he stretched forth his hands. And the waters opened. And Yisrael went through the sea on dry ground. They sang. They rejoiced. The horse and the rider has he thrown into the sea. We got out into the wilderness. Took us on that journey. And before he could give us this precious Torah, we rebelled. We built the golden calf. Moshe, in his innocency, thought it was the sound of war. God told him no. Them fools.
That's right. Hallelujah. That's right.
Those fools down there that you brought up out here. Yeah. God was at a point where he wanted to dissociate himself from all of us. Sent them down, y'all know, through the tablets, made us drink the golden calf. All kind of terrible things happened. But yet and still, God had not given up on us. He still found it in his graciousness to protect us, to love us, to feed us with bread that he prepared himself. Rained it down on us. We cried for Medima, and he sent out quail. We didn't get the lesson from that. We were so busy being gluttonous. Our mind didn't even say birds ain't supposed to be flapping around on the ground. And we shoved as much chicken in our mouth as we could. You can call it quail if you want. Ain't nothing. You can call it what you want to call it. Nothing but some tiny little chickens. And through all of that, graves of lust, right? all these kinds of things. With all this stuff, God still was taking us to the promised land. We got to the precipice of the land. We said, let's send some spies. Go see. What you gonna look for? We want to see, how it's laid out. It sounded strategic. Yeah. But it wasn't the golden calf. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was when we became a band of cowards.
There you go.
Think about it. Yeah.
God said, I'm done with this generation. I'm done with you. Not one of you who are 20 years old and upward are going to see that land except for Caleb, the son of Yefuneh, and Yehoshua, the son of Nun. Y'all not going. And so here we were now in an 11 days journey that's now going to take us 38 more years to go. Unbelievable. Wandering around in circles. Finally, after 603,548 people had died, in a span of 38 years, you do the math. We were dropping dead by the droves. There wasn't a moment where we could forget what we had done because they were dropping like flies. You couldn't even use the excuse that we had forgotten because every time you went to bury somebody, you knew why.
Amen.
So here we were, doing all of this. And as all of these things took place, we now get to the place where God is finally relenting and let us go into the land. Yeah. Last week's portion, he told you, this is not too hard for you. He's talking to a whole new generation of people. The oldest guy there was about, 19 plus 38. Do the math for me. But he wasn't that old. 57. Oldest guy, oldest man of war there. 57. Time to go into the land. God said, listen to me. I'm telling you that it's not too hard for you. You can do it. Only thing you got to do is cleave unto me. Just stick with me. And I got you. We're going to pick it up in 31. It says, and Moshe went and spoke these words unto all Yisrael, and he said unto them, I'm 120 years old this day. I can no more go out and come in, and the Lord hath said unto me, thou shalt not go over this Jordan. So back to this man Moses. You hear how he starts this sentence. He says, I'm 120 and I can't go. But listen, we get mad at every little thing. We quit one another like it ain't nobody's business. We have no loyalty whatsoever. Now let's talk, because y'all ain't strangers to me. This is my family, and the only thing I know is this, that we got to figure out how to do it better. Today, See, we can talk about them. Everyone that's in this book is dead and gone. I'm concerned about you now. What's going to happen with these babies over here? The man Moshe was under a death sentence, but his loyalty to God was untarnished. Do you hear me? God don't give us something that we don't want, and we on the quits. We don't say it. It's the way we function. You ain't got to say it. You ain't got to say quid pro quo. Y'all ain't watching the news. You don't have to say it out your mouth. Your actions are saying it. I remember, I'm 50 years old in a couple of weeks, and I remember all the houses of God that I knew was packed. Amen. They were doing things. They were producing stuff. They were making things happen. What was going on? Now, but we had things that held us together. Nowadays, the only thing we're trying to do is figure out how to do less. Amen. 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 That's how we're using our scholarship today. Yeah. How to do less for the magnificent one who has never changed. Amen. Amen. I remember Friday night services every week. Amen. Hear me? Every week. I ain't talking about on a holy day. I'm talking about on a regular Shabbat. Friday night service. You prepared yourself all week, because we didn't start preparing for Shabbat on Friday. We started preparing for Shabbat probably on Monday. Sunday was kind of like our day to hang out and do what we did. But by Monday, you had already started preparation for Shabbat. So by the time Friday came, the Shabbat meal was done by noon. Amen. And we all came. Listen, I remember 100 and something people at services regularly on a Friday night. Amen. Amen. And then they got back up in the morning, and at 9:30, the house was packed. By the time 10:30 came, you saw them running there, because Torah was going to come out at about 10:45 or so. It was packed. Amen. I'm just telling you about some little stuff. Moshe was under a death sentence. He was still working for God. You hear me? God had told him, you got to die. Moshe didn't say, well, then forget you. I gotta die. Why I gotta die? Them people, everything them people was doing to me, you can't. How you just gonna blame me for all that stuff that them people was doing, and I gotta die? Amen. Moshe knew that he stood before the master of all things. He was prepared to go the extra mile, even under the death sentence. It didn't stop there. You had mornings, you had morning service, then you had lunch, and then you had afternoon service. Everybody wasn't so busy figuring out where they was running to Motzei Shabbat, because there was no talk of Motzei Shabbat on Shabbat. Amen. Amen. Y'all can look at me like y'all don't know what I'm talking about if you want to. I know what you're talking about. Because you know how we do it now. Amen. We planning for Motzei Shabbat on Shabbat. Amen. We resting up on Shabbat Shabbat so we can go play after Shabbat. I can't go to the temple today because I need my extra rest because you know there's this party tonight or this thing to do, blah, 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 blah. That didn't happen because your loyalty was to God in heaven. That's where it was at. At the end of the day, there was nothing else more important in your life. We got new priorities now. And we justify them. Well, Rabbi, you know, life isn't the same as it was back then. You know, it's different now. We've recognized that all that religiosity. Yeah. Amen. You just old-fashioned. That's what you used to. We ain't used to that no more. Why? Right. Because our priorities have changed. But Moshe, the man of God, who we all say, ooh, Moshe, Moshe. We don't love that man either. Let's stop. You know, this is what I'm talking about. We need to be in a position where we can look at ourselves and see ourselves for who we have become and recognize the things that we have done to diminish our people, to cut off our children. Well, Rabbi, the law doesn't tell you have to be in the temple all day. What else you doing? Tell me what else you're doing. Tell me what you're doing when you're not in the temple. Don't really tell me because I don't really want to know. I don't really want to know. What else is it that you got going on that's more important than saying, I bless your name, Father, because you watched over me and you put food on my table, clothes on my back, you watch my old mother, you keep my children alive in a day that the world is going mad. The boy just got hit by a car because the people on, and what are we talking about? Thank God that God saved him because he's still, don't you understand? He's still doing it for us in spite of us.
Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Everything we want to diminish.
Yes.
I told my son, I remember the days when Rabbi Yisrael used to do like this. Ya'amod. And he would turn around and he would call anybody. You knew the rule. Be ready. And I'm talking about the whole seder. I ain't talking about no 3 lines. I'm talking about the whole seder. Everybody was ready. When he turned around and said, Ya'amod, or down, you had... And if you didn't read right, he was going to talk about you. So you know you needed to fix that. That was just the truth. There was no list. There was only one list, a Maftir's list. And if you missed your turn, let me just tell you this. So that people don't, because people don't believe me. I knew the list. Rabbi Beth Shalom had the list because he was the chief Gabbai. Listen, if you missed your turn to be Maftir, you would not see that turn again for a year and a half. Now we begging people, will you be Maftir? Can you please be Maftir? Can you please come up and read the Torah? Why don't you read the Torah? Why don't you do this? Stop. Moshe was under a death sentence. And he with Dav Kwabo. And he cleaved unto him. The Lord thy God, he will go over before thee. He will destroy these nations from before thee, and thou shalt dispossess them. And Yehoshua, he shall go over before thee as the Lord hath spoken. And the Lord will do unto them as he did unto Sihon, to Og, the kings of the Amorites, and unto their land whom he destroyed. And the Lord will deliver them up before you. Ye shall do unto them according to all the commandment which I have commanded you. Be strong and of good courage. Fear not, neither be affrighted of them, for the Lord thy God, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Did you hear it? Kazak where mats. Katsu where anzu.
Hallelujah.
God said, see that line, I don't know whether or not that registers to us what that Kazak where mats means. Courage is defined as not, people think people who are courageous are not afraid. That's not what that means. When you're courageous is the state of being where you are afraid and yet you overcome it and do what you need to do. That's what courage is. God said, be strong and of good courage. When those things get in your way, when your own mind gets in your way, have enough courage to step away from it. When that one gets in your way, have enough courage to do the right thing before God. Choose me.
That's what he said.
Choose me.
Hallelujah. Amen.
That's what you got to do. All this other stuff that we going through. Oh, listen. It says, and Moshe called unto Yehoshua and said unto him in the sight of all Israel, be strong and of good courage. For thou shalt go with this people into the land which the Lord hath sworn unto their fathers to give them, and thou shalt cause them to inherit it. And the Lord, he it is that doth go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. God is telling you, no matter what, I do not fail.
Hallelujah.
I don't fail. So what is it that would make us not do what God told us to do? Because the reward is great. And he said, listen, if you do what I tell you to do, there's no, and you fill in the blank. People, power, nation, no, that can stand in my way.
Hallelujah.
I don't fail.
Amen.
I'm glorious in my. Listen, he told us last week, he said, who is it that come from Edom, from Bozrah, with his garment stained with blood? He said, and I looked around, and there was none to uphold me. So my own hand brought me victory. Hey, listen, he said, and my anger upheld me.
Amen. Amen.
And I trumped them out like grapes in a wine press.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the champion of all time.
Amen.
Only thing you got to do is stick with me.
Hallelujah.
So then Moshe wrote this law and delivered it unto the priests, the sons of Levi, that bore the ark of the covenant, and unto the elders of Yisrael. And Moshe commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the set time of the year of release, in the feast of tabernacle, when all Yisrael is come to appear before the Lord thy God in the place which you shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all of the Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, the men and the women and the little ones, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear and that they may learn and fear the Lord your God, and observe to do all the words of this law, and that their children who have not known may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, as long as ye live in the land whither ye go over the Jordan to possess it. So now listen to what he said. He said, listen, write it up. He said, every 7 years. This is why I want you. This is why I'm talking to you. I'm not talking about the people of the book right now. I'm talking to you.
Amen. Amen.
God told him in every 7 years during Sukkot, he was to pull out the Torah and read the Torah to the people in the hearing of all the people, the men, the women, the children, the strangers, everybody that was around. Read the law to them. And now, here it is. You remember in Nehemiah? Where they gathered all the people And after all of the persecution and the destruction, when they heard the words of the Lord, they said the people wept and they cried. And he held it up and they shouted. You got one in your pocket. You didn't hear me. You got one in your pocket. You can pull it up on the app. You get to come to the house of God and get the privilege of hearing the word of God every week.
Amen. Amen.
God told him to do it every 7 years. You get to hear it every week.
Amen.
So what is it now? Passe? Has it become something that, it's just something that we do? Oh, it's the Torah time.
Amen.
You don't remind yourself that the words that you hear, many of them were words that were actually spoken by the one who lives forever. We pay big money for an autograph from some fool that jump around on stage that don't know your name, can't help you, don't even want to sign the paper for you. And we walk around talking about, I got this autograph. You take it home. You put it in a frame. Cherish it. You know your favorites. Don't get me wrong. Hey. But you know your favorites. You know the ones you stood in line for. You know them sneakers that you wanted that you spent the night outside the stove for. On the street. God gave you a house, warm, cozy, and you was on the street. So you could give somebody a whole lot of money for a sneaker. I don't care what y'all call them today. They sneakers, running shoes, tennis shoes, gym shoes, because that's what they are.
Gym shoes.
See, I remember when gym shoes was sold in Pathmark on a little string on a table by the frozen food section. Gym shoes wasn't even allowed in a shoe store.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's right, man. That's right.
I remember I was on New York Avenue. They now call it Guy R. Brewer.
Yeah, that's the days, man.
And me and my cousin, we wanted a pair of Uptown Pro Kids. Let me tell you what I mean. Uptown Pro Kids. These wasn't regular Pro Kids. You know, regular Pro Kids just had the blue and the red stripe on the side like this. You know what I'm talking about, right back there? Come on, show me. I hear you. I see you. I hear you, baby. It wasn't just that little red and blue stripe. The Uptown Pro Kid had a little bit thicker sole, and they had 3 stripes that went around the entire sole. And I remember me and my cousin in the back of my Aunt Uraba's blue car. My mother was driving. Aunt Uraba was in the car in front. And we were like, hey, Emo, can we get this? Because we needed some new sneakers. And they was headed to the grocery store to get us some new sneakers.
The grocery store.
Y'all think I'm lying? And we said, Mama, please, we want the Uptown Pro Cats. And my mom said, well, they're different than the regular Pro Cats? Yeah, Mom. The Uptowns, they got. So my mother said, well, baby, how much do the Uptown Pro Cats cost? And we were hesitant. We was hesitant. We said, you know how we put it, right? They're only, you know how it go, right? You know how it go? They're only $16. And my mother said, for a pair of sneakers? You want me to pay $16 for a pair of sneakers? Have you lost your mind, child? Now I need for you to know the regular sneakers on the store in the Pathmark cost between $4.99 and $7.99. And if you got a pair of Chuck Taylors, you might pay $8.99. Our priorities are different. You hear me? We don't get it no more. We want all this stuff and we forget the one who provides it, and we don't have time for him no more. Everything about what we do is, y'all admit it. And then once you admit it, figure out that has not profited us at all. We have become minimalists with God. We want to do less. We want to come later and leave earlier. We ain't got time for all that. This thing said that you may learn. Hear me? It says that ye may, and their children that have not known, that may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God. Amen. Amen. What does that mean? The Gabbai was up here. He said, you mean to tell me fear, it just don't come natural? No, it don't come natural. You got to learn to fear. You got to learn to fear. This is what I tell people. People have said this because, nowadays we got these newfangled ideas. You're not supposed to, I've heard this. You're not supposed to fear God. What do you mean you're not supposed to fear God? You're not supposed to fear your parents. What are you talking about? That's what's wrong with these kids today. And you know what it is? Because they don't fear their parents, there's no way for them to learn to fear God. Amen. See, I know y'all don't like me sometimes, but I don't really care. Because the reality of it is that I got to get clear now. Because things got to change, and times, although times are changing, if we don't figure out how to get back to the things that are important in our lives, we are going to destine them to death. While we talk about how we love them. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, man. Let me tell you what respect is. Respect in terms of your parents is fear wrapped up in love.
Amen.
That's what respect is. Because there comes a place when you're first learning and they say, don't do that. Don't do that. See, now I know this is totally against everything now, right? This is against the whole world now. This is politically incorrect. It's incorrect by the court. It's incorrect by the legislature. It's incorrect by the... Notice, all of those things that I named, the court, the legislation, all those things, they are plotting for your own demise, and you're falling right into the trap. We're all falling. I'm not just claiming. We all fell right into it. We walking around nowadays in our own community talking about, I don't be saying nothing to nobody else's kids. What do you mean?
Right. That's your tale.
We don't want to say nothing. You say something to somebody else's kid and they cussing.
Yeah.
You say something to my kid. You need to take your kid and sit in the corner. And don't let them go nowhere around. These little bad behind children running around here and nobody ain't supposed to say nothing. Now, I ain't just talking about it here and don't get personal.
No. That's the truth.
Very true.
And our children looking like me right now talking about, well, I'm not bad.
Yeah.
Y'all are horrible.
Yeah. Terrible. Terrible.
Y'all can laugh at me if y'all want to. Y'all know I'm not telling no lie.
Amen. No respect.
Y'all looking at me like, y'all are indignant right now.
Speak the truth.
But let me tell you what fear is. When her mother, Gveret Hashabia's mother, slapped me on the corner of her house because the two boys that I was with was cussing outside her yard.
Yeah. But you had been hanging with them.
You.
And she slapped everybody that was standing there.
Thank God.
And then she said, and I'm going to go down that block and tell your mother. And so let me tell you what fear was. Miss Baker,
You know,
let's have this conversation right now, Miss Baker. Right? Miss Baker, I understand. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But you don't need to tell my mother. I got the lesson.
yeah.
I'm clear.
You know what's going to happen.
That's fear.
I'll tell you that.
Because I knew if Miss Baker went down to that, knocked on 13318, the whole hurricane was going to happen.
You know it. Amen. Amen.
And don't let her get loud because her brother lived right next door. What are you doing to my sister?
Right.
What do you mean what I'm doing to her? She beating me.
Amen.
Now you say something and the children and they exasperated and they throw their hands out and they screw up their face, and I'm sitting there going, help me, Father God, help me. Please, Father, Lord in heaven, help me. Hold my hand, Father, because, oh, God, because we have lost our way. We've lost our way. And the Lord said unto Moses, behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Listen to that. Call Yehoshua and present yourselves in the tent of meeting that I might give him a charge. And Moshe and Yehoshua went and presented themselves in the tent of meeting. And the Lord appeared in the tent of the pillar of cloud, and the pillar of the cloud stood over the door of the tent. And the Lord said unto Moses, behold, thou art about to sleep with thy fathers.
Amen.
And this people will rise up and go astray after foreign gods of the land, whither they go in to be among them. And they will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. And many evils and troubles shall come upon them, so that they will say in that day, ought not these evils come upon us, because our God is not among us.
Amen.
Did you hear it? Come, you're about to die. But before you die, go tell these people what I need for them to know. And in his obedience, remember, this is the one who did not want to come and get you. This is the one who didn't want to be your legislator, your leader. He didn't want to lead nothing but some goats.
All right. Talk it.
Wound up being a shepherd of fools.
Amen.
He didn't want to. And now, as a result of coming there, he has to die. And even with the death sentence, I'm not quite finished using you.
All right then.
His love for his master made him suck it all up. You remember after God told him he was going to die, even in the discourse when he was saying, and it was your fault, and it was your fault. And then, and in the middle of all that, what did he start doing? Praying for you. Oh, like God, please be with them and rescue them and turn their hearts and minds. You hear me?
Amen.
He said, and I will surely hide my face in that day for the evil which they shall have wrought, in that they have turned to other gods. Now therefore write this song for you and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. That's what next week's portion is, that song. So I see people look at it, oh, it's such a beautiful song. That song is a witness against you.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swore unto their fathers, flowing with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten their fill and waxen fat, and turned to other gods and served them and despised me, and broken my covenant, then it shall come to pass when many evils and troubles will come upon them, that this song shall testify before them as a witness, for it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination, how they even do now, before I brought them into the land which I swore. So Moshe wrote the song the same day and taught it to the children of Israel. And he gave Yehoshua the son of Nun a charge and said, what? Be strong and of good courage.
Yes.
For thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swore unto them, and I will be with thee. Yehoshua was listening to all of this. Can you imagine Yehoshua right now? He's like, what?
What?
You telling me after all of this, my master Moshe, who has to die here, you're telling me that these people are going to go into the land and still be corrupt?
Yes.
Here was the prophecy. God told him that's what they're going to do. And Moshe told him, come out, and this is what's going to happen. And so now, let's finish this up. Said, and it came to pass when Moshe had made an end of writing the words in the law in the book until they were finished, that Moshe commanded the Levites that bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, take this book of the law and put it by the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be therefore a witness against thee. For I know thy rebellion and thy stiff neck. Behold, while I am yet alive with you this day, ye have been rebellious against the Lord. How much more after my death? That is one of the saddest things I have ever read in my entire life. Moshe, the man of God, who did not even want the job. After all the strife and the kicking and the crying out and the begging and the pleading, God's telling him, all your work, don't amount to nothing. Let me bring this to modern times.
Yes. Bring it.
I have had the privilege of sitting under some of the greatest minds that God put in this community. And I have been with them up to their latter days. And I remember a couple of them saying to me, my whole life is worthless. Some of the ones we clap about, we say, well, yeah. They went to their grave feeling like their life had been worthless. Because of everything that they had put in. And there were very few positive results.
Amen.
They went to their grave lamenting about how we were going backwards.
Hallelujah.
Do y'all hear me?
Yes, it's true.
My question to you is, what share of blame do you take in that?
Right. Okay.
Take no blame.
Or is your hands clean?
Right.
Man.
Are you not the one? It wasn't me. What was your part in it?
Amen.
Worse, are you going to continue to be a part of those that will send the next set of leaders to their grave like Moshe went to his?
Amen.
You don't want to hear that. This ain't a feel-good talk.
Amen.
But this ain't supposed to just make you feel good. It's supposed to make you think.
Hey. Hallelujah.
I ain't here to make no show.
Amen.
Where are we? I done buried too many of them.
Amen. Amen.
I listened to their private conversation
Yes.
when they weren't standing up here trying to make you feel good.
Amen.
I've watched them shed tears,
Hallelujah.
cry out. And sometimes it feels to me like we just don't care.
Don't care. Don't care.
Right.
Amen.
Assemble unto me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death ye will in any wise deal corruptly, and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you. And evil will befall you in the end of days, because you will do that which is evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him through the works of your hands.
Amen.
And Moshe spoke in the ears of all the assembly of Israel the words of this song until they were finished. So I'm going to do what most Haftorot do. They leave you with a monicum of hope. The God of heaven and earth came and told Moses, they're going to deal corruptly. Hear me? Moshe then turned around and said, I know what you're going to do after I die. You're going to turn and you're going to serve other gods. And like I said to the rabbi here, they didn't wait for eons to do it. They wasn't good enough. There wasn't a tree hadn't grown 4 feet before they were starting to act stupid.
Amen.
So my question is, the words of God never die. They're alive today, asking us the same question, giving us the same warning, telling us the same thing. Can we hear it this time? Will you hear it? Will you change what we're doing? Will we stop trying to be minimalist with God? Will we stop trying to use scholarship as a way to figure out how to do less before the mighty one?
Amen.
Or are we going to continue in the same vein because that's just your opinion, Rabbi? Because that's what we boil all this stuff down to now. That's just your opinion.
Yes.
Well, I feel real good about being in this opinion
Amen.
because this is the same side that God took.
Hallelujah.
This same side that Moses took.
Hallelujah.
And guess what? Nothing that we're doing is saying that I'm a liar.
Amen.
Well, this ain't one of your better talks, Rabbi. That's okay. It's okay. I told you, I'm not an entertainer. I'm here. I don't know why I'm here. I know this. I know why this is here.
Amen.
I know why these words are here.
Amen.
I know this holy season that he so graciously gave to us.
Amen.
To bethink ourselves. To rethink our way. He's worthy.
Hallelujah.
Hear me? He's worthy.
Amen.
He's worthy.
Amen.
Think about it. It's all right to say it. He's worthy.
Amen.
He's worthy.
Hallelujah. Amen.
Got to change it.
Yes. Yes. Please.
May the Most High God bless each and every one of us.
Amen.
Rabbi, if you don't mind, come here, boy. You, come here. I want to say this publicly. I started to tell it to you privately. I'm going to
Hallelujah.
tell it to you publicly.
Amen.
We love you.
Amen.
So glad to see you.
Hallelujah.
So glad to see you. Don't let nobody keep you away. Don't let nobody keep you from being blessed by the Holy One. Hear me?
Blessed be the name.
Because sometimes we think
Amen.
that we get to tell other people when they're trying to fight their way back about stuff that you want to talk to them about and you want to make them feel bad about them. My only job is to encourage them so that they can come back, so they can stand and be counted.
Amen. Speak on it.
It's against the law of God to turn somebody away from him, you know.
That's right. Each side. Right.
Don't think you're so righteous and so holy and